morning and welcome to Frank's School, 7th year, 106th day, second video of more. I'm putting these all as if they were in one day. They won't all be in one day, but that way it makes it easier to access them one after the other. What I'm doing is I'm giving my annual State of the School address, you might say, or presentation. Yesterday I talked about the year that has passed, and today I want to talk about what I foresee as the future. But a couple of things about yesterday. The link to that book, Building Folk Huts with Pallets, A New Vernacular Architecture, I forgot to put that link on at first, but it's there now. So if you go back to that, the one video, down there you would see the link and you could be reading the draft of that book. I forgot to mention that there's now running water. It freezes. If we get cold enough weather, it'll freeze up, but then it thaws and runs again. Running water and electricity to the upper barn, the goat barn, the Gasthaus. It's one very big building where I'll be devoting a lot of my work this coming year, and I already have. So running water is nice for the animals. They don't have to go find the creek or the spring or a spring. So that's nice. And the electricity, well, some years ago, the pole on this property blew down, and I just didn't have time to hook everything back up, so I was using extension cords. But now I actually have lights. When I go out in the barn at dawn, I can turn the lights on in the haymow and see what I'm doing. It's nice. It was actually that great dismantling where I had to tear all this stuff down. These folk huts, tear them back down to the ground and build them again. It was actually a little bit comforting because I was reminded about how the way I build, I build in such a way that things can be very easily taken back apart. I don't use glue, I don't use screws, I don't use mortar, and it was comforting because I worry some about if I'm suddenly gone, what about this big mess? What does someone do? Take a bulldozer and bulldoze everything together and light it on fire? That's what would be done under many conditions. I mean, traditionally, I hope not, but it doesn't have to be done now. And I showed that. I mean, it was not hard to dismantle things. I've got cats fighting at the cat door. So it was strangely comforting, even though it was a lot of work. All right, looking forward. The word village is going to be prime. That one. And the word folk. I'm going to... Now the dog knows. Now that word village, I'm going to concentrate on that idea. I've done it in the past in my school. If you would look up village planning, I think if you would search that, I go through some books I have on village planning in the primitive world and others. But I'm going to return to it with a kind of a vengeance because I had realized at a certain point, probably 50 years ago, that one single person or one single family, as in Robinson Crusoe or Swiss Family Robinson, was not enough not to achieve simplicity, voluntary simplicity, not realistically. It takes a village, as Hillary Clinton said. It takes quoting an African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. And that word, village, well, I'm going to research even that very word, because do I mean town? No, I don't mean town. Do I mean farmstead? Maybe. And I'm going to look at it in other languages as well. Hof in German is like almost a farmstead. Court, Dorfken. A Dorf is a village, but Dorfken would be a tiny village. So anyway, I'm ready to spend the entire year on that concept if necessary. I'm going to do a lot of research, and I'm excited about it. In a way, I feel like I'm reminded of, was it Viola in Twelfth Night, that after the shipwreck she went onto this land and it was a completely new land, and there she was. Academically, I feel a little bit like that, into a brave new world, being so focused on that concept. And the word folk, well, folk music, folk dress, folk huts, folk dance, folk stories, folk songs, that as well. I mean, it's a move towards simplicity, but in many ways my heart was always there. So I'm going from folk huts to the concept of village. How do you, what I mean in a way is, okay, I've come up with a folk hut, which is a unit in which a family could survive. And it could live satisfactorily and voluntarily, simply, very, very small. So how do you go from folk huts to actually a village, a cluster, a village, etc.? One of my inspirations has been this man, Peter Kropotkin, a Russian author, died in, I don't know, maybe 1920s maybe. He's known as an art anarchist, but actually I never thought of myself really as an anarchist. I think of him as a decentralist, although that was not to use the word, decentralist. That word anarchist has come to mean in a lot of people's minds somebody who just wants chaos, wants disorder, wants nothing, no laws, no government. No, that's not what he was, and I'm not sure that's what anarchy ever was. It was without a strong centralized government. That's like a decentralist. And he's been an inspiration of mine. He did amazing work. His book, Mutual Aid, I've just finished it, and I'm reading through some of it again. Before that, I had read Farms, Factories, and Workshops. And his most famous book is Conquest of Bread. Not very well known, but I'll talk more about him in another video. Now, there's also been kind of lately, it's already been a kind of a reawakening of the work of Wedge's paradigm. Something I wrote, it's getting close to 50 years ago. And it gives me a brain ache in a way to reawaken that, because that was a very difficult thing to do. But there's a young man, he's a college student. I've never met him, Andrew. And he has gotten interested in that. And having a young, fresh mind tackle some of these things it's a real jolt in a way. I mean, that happened when David Kravitz decided to build to actually build one of my folk huts. And in a way, the same thing's going on here. Is my mind, at my age, can my mind even go back to what was so difficult for me at that time? That's where the brain ache comes. But we'll see where that goes, because the man is genuinely interested in decentralist thinking and degrowth. And he wants to learn. He's a student. I guess finally, Bloom Day. I've set April 1st, a special day for me, not only because it's April Fool's Day, but because that was the day that I first arrived here with the intent to stay for the rest of my life here, back in 1974, April 1st. But anyway, I'm going to call it Bloom Day, because as of that day, I'm going to actually make my efforts, I'm going to put a stronger effort into making things look good. I haven't done that yet. I've just been busying myself about just fixing things, getting things ready, so that if this movie, Resurrection or Hope, had happened, it could have suddenly bloomed. Well, at this point, I don't have much more hope that it would happen this year anyway. But as of April 1st, that's when I'm going to go ahead with starting to simply try to make things look understandable to other people. All right, there's a look into the future. Next, I'm going to go outside tomorrow or very soon. Bye for now.